Let's go ahead and get started. And so one of the first questions that we got during the session was, how do the skills taught in the videos equate to on-the-site job skills? So as you were talking about having students watch the videos and then after that you would go to the actual job sites, how is what they're learning there on the videos equate to what you guys were actually doing hands-on?
A lot of it does. So we didn't do a whole lot of, when it comes to like framing and roofing, we didn't do a whole lot of those two things because these houses are already built, and there we are more just renovating and fixing different parts of the house. So what a lot of it that did actually equate was more of the drywall work and the insulating work that the class had learned about from those videos. So how to repair the drywall, and how to the different ways to insulate a house. So those are what directly correlated to what we were doing out there. The framing and roofing, I wanted them to learn. We may have not had the chance at those certain job sites to do it. And it just depends on the year. So we didn't necessarily do it last year. The year before, though, we needed a shed built at the school to house different tools. So we did actually use some of those framing skills and how to create a door and window skills. And we did that to build the shed. We used those skills that they learned to build that shed. We just didn't do that shed last year, so we didn't have that opportunity. Hopefully that answered the question.
No, yeah, I think so. All right, so we just had a question come through on chat that said, okay, and it looks like this is what it's going to look like this fall. So will you be social distancing, and what will you do for hands-on instruction?
Yes, we will be social distancing. Our schools, it's going to be an interesting setup, and luckily that's why we have something like this iCEV where it's online, and a lot of it can be graded online because I'm going to be using that a lot this year, because we have kind of a blended learning model this year. So we're going to have kids there. If I'm a student, I'm basically going to be in class 2 days a week. Another 2 days a week, I'm going to be at home remote learning. And then Monday for them is an entire day of remote learning. So our schedule breaks down Monday, all students at home. Tuesday and Thursday is what we call the purple group. And then Wednesday and Friday is what we call the gold group. That's kind of how we're splitting things up. So Tuesday, I'll have half of my ag mechanics class there. Wednesday, I'll have the other half of the ag mechanics class. So each one of my classes is going to be split up into two. Makes my job a little bit more interesting, but that's going to help with the social distancing, splitting those classes basically in half. So yes, we will be social distancing. When it comes to hands-on instruction, they're just gonna have to work individually or in groups of two, and sanitize the equipment when they're done and things like that. So we will be able to social distance pretty easily. And then this iCEV, the videos are what they're going to be watching at home on those remote learning days, working on the online worksheets that's on the website and things like that.
So as you kind of look at that, Sarah's, I'm getting some feedback somewhere, Landy. Okay, so as you look at that, Nick, if you've got your ag mechanics class and you've got them split into two different sections, so say today you're working on drywall, how do you manage your tasks between those two different sections? So I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm not asking the question very well. Typically you go in and you finish a project and then you kind of move on to the next one. This one, you're going to have to stagger them out a little bit to make sure that the students get all the skills, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And we're lucky enough, this subdivision or this area of housing that I'm referring to, it's about 75% occupied. These houses are. So there are a few unoccupied houses that we are able to use for our instruction to kind of demolish on our own and do things. So if there are some students that finish up a project in a house and they're completely done with that, and that other class wasn't able to get those skills because that other class finished it up, we can use those uninhabited houses for that class to learn those skills.
Okay, good. So one of the questions here was, what industry certifications do you utilize? And Mr. Hust had explained that he uses NCCER and OSHA 10, as well as looking at a cert from the Home Builders Association. Do you guys follow the same certs or?
We do get into OSHA. We don't actually certify them with the OSHA 10. I'm actually looking to do that. I'll be completely honest. I'm going in my 3rd year of teaching. So any of those out there with more experience, you understand the first few years are a little rough. So I have not had time to do that yet, to be completely honest. And I wasn't left with a whole lot. So I do plan to get them OSHA 10 certified. Just haven't yet, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and one other thing, we are launching a certification with the Alabama Home Builders Association. So I'm not certain if any of y'all are in Alabama or not, but that does kind of go across state lines from the standpoint that while it is the Alabama Home Builders Association that is doing the certification, you know, obviously the skills and techniques and things like that that students learn to have success on that certification is going to carry over regardless of the state that you're in. So you might look at that this fall. Matt had asked, will you do the maintenance portion of your program? And so Matt, I'm not 100% sure. Nick, do you?
I'm not quite sure. If you could expand on that, that would be awesome.
Matt, and if you're on here, if you wanted to just unmute yourself and then explain.
I mean, going into the community with a certain subset of your students to do the maintenance inside that housing development. So are you going to be able to take students on a bus or however into the community to do that work?
So that's actually a discussion I'm going to be having in the next couple of days with our principal to see if they will allow me to do that. Because that's a good question that I'm not really sure of right now. If we do, I only see us going into those houses that are uninhabitable. As I said before, last year and the year prior to that, we worked in houses where there might have been people living, whether they were there at the time or not, doing small repairs. I don't see that being the case because this is an older community. So especially there might be some health concerns there. I don't see us being able to go into those houses to do repair work, but there are still that other 20-25% of the houses that we can go do work in and get some practice in.
Okay, we've got another question from Matt. And Mr. Hust, I might ask your help on this one as well, since I know that you're familiar with it. But one of the questions is, how does the Alabama cert compare to NCCER? From my understanding, and I'm very limited knowledge on that, but NCCER deals with commercial construction mainly. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Dusty, you're exactly right. They're focused mainly on commercial and industrial, and that's why I'm really excited about the Alabama project you guys are getting started, and I'd love to see that because we can catch it more on the residential side, and that way we've got everything covered. So,
perfect. Thanks for answering that. Any other questions? All right, very good. I know it's the end of the day, so everybody's questioned out probably. So we have the code. Landy, do you have the code? Okay, Landy just put in the code for you to enter for that professional development credit as well as for your challenge tab. It is blocks, BLOCKS 035. So again, blocks, BLOCKS 035. And thank you, Nick, for joining us. Thanks everybody for all the questions. Mr. Huss, thank you for your help in confirming one of the questions that we had. And if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to reach out and contact us. But thanks again to everyone for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.